Hi, I'm Ben Orford, and we just wanted to show you how to safely split a rod. This is a hazel rod, but we wanted to show you how to safely split it with a knife. Now, quite often when you're around camp and you've got to make pot hangers, you've got to split a rod for panassing salmon, the ability to be able to split this rod safely in half in a controlled manner is a really good skill to have. So what we'll do is first of all make sure that you make a nice elongated fresh cut on the end of the rod. So use a nice powerful forehand grip to slice the rod off, and what we're trying to do is create a really nice thin edge on the one side, and we're also trying to expose the pith. Now the pith is the very center of the log. Now when we're splitting, it's important that we try and split through the pith and try and make it into two equal halves as possible, and that's going to help the split stay on line. So there's two methods of splitting. Now to start the split off, there is one method which is a little bit more dangerous, so don't try this first of all. But what you do is you allow the fingers of your hand holding your knife to come on the back side of the knife. So as we start pushing the knife into that thin section of timber, when our knife gets to the point where our fingers hit the tip of that rod, it prevents that knife travelling any further down towards this hand. It is quite dangerous, so yeah, a lot of practice needed. The safest method is to actually find a stump or a chopping block and place the knife onto our flat section of our rod, lining it up with the pith, and then pick both items up. We're going to pick both the rod and the knife blade up, and then just tap it down onto the chopping blocks like so. Once you've created that split, you can then take the blade out, and we're going to push it back into that split, and at that stage we do not pull with this hand. We're not pulling that knife blade towards this hand that's holding that rod. All we're doing is we're using it as a lever, so my wrist is twisting that knife blade literally back and forth. So what we want to try and do is what we call fishtail down the log, so that enables our split to stay in half. We want to try and keep that split in the middle of the rod. So what we do is we do a little twist one side and then a little twist the other. Now we're looking, as soon as that bark starts to open up, that's where we're looking, and we're making sure that as soon as we see that split start to drift one side or the other, we correct it before it gets too far. So if we start to see that one half is slightly bigger, slightly thicker than the other side, what we do is we twist the back edge of the knife into the thick half, and you can see that that actually bends the one side more than the thin side. So effectively by equaling up that pressure, you can make that split come back on track. So if I just show you as I work down the log, just progressively twisting the knife blade one way and the other. So if I start to see it run one way, I might put 2 or 3 twists onto the thick half. Now what you can do, if you find that you're up against a very difficult piece of grain or a knot and you're in the woods, you can either use an upright branch or a tree to open up that split, or what we can use here is our chopping block. So I can actually apply pressure on either half of our rod and keep that split running true. So there's a little bit of squirrel damage there, so got to be a bit careful there because the fibres will be a little bit tough, and also a couple of knots. So the whole time we're very conscious that we're never pulling that blade towards our hands. If you do get tempted to pull that blade through and it either snaps or cuts through the wood, this hand is going to be in a lot of danger. So make sure you're just purely twisting with your wrist. Now this is probably the most dangerous section because you've got no amount of leverage and you're very close to there. So that last little cut, I tend to put my hands in front and just twist. So there you go. We've split that rod completely in half. When you're finished, always make sure you put your knife away when you finish splitting. And you can see that we've got pretty much pith running all the way down that rod, so we've got 2 equal halves. So if we were going to make a drying rack, we've got nice flat areas that we can use. But learning how to split timber is a really useful skill to have, but doing it safely is the most important thing. So have a few goes, practice, and just be really conscious of not pulling towards you. Just make sure that you're twisting with a knife. But I hope that helps. If you've got any questions, please fire us an email through the website, and good luck in the woods.